Helena Blavatsky saw it with absolute clarity. Money isn't a piece of paper, nor a number on a screen. It's also not an object that exists independently. Money is pure energy. It's a frequency that responds exactly to how you are vibrating inside. It's no accident that you're reading this. There's a part of you that already knows this. No matter how much you've been told that money is the result of hard work, of eternal sacrifices, of waking up early every day to scrape together a few coins, it's not like that. Not entirely. Of course, effort counts, but it's just a small piece of something much larger, because the uncomfortable truth is that you can work yourself to exhaustion. You can spend your entire life waking up before anyone else and going to bed last. But if inside you carry the frequency of lack, the universe will do nothing but return more of that scarcity you feel in silence. Since childhood, we were programmed to think this way. Worried parents dealing with bills did it. Schools that never taught how wealth is created did it. Bosses who pay you just enough to survive, but never enough to thrive, did it. It's a system, a deep wiring in your mind that keeps operating without you realizing it. They made you believe that money is difficult, that it slips away quickly, that only a privileged few have it. But that's a lie that upholds the system they want to keep you trapped in. Because the truth is that money doesn't respond to logic, it responds to energy. It always has. Always will. You can have all the degrees in the world. You can work double and triple shifts. Desire it with all your might. But if that little voice inside you resonates, saying, "I don't have enough," that is the order the universe obeys instantly, without judgment, without exception. And most people don't even know they are trapped in one of these two frequencies, the frequency of lack or the frequency of flow. And depending on where you are tuned, so will be your financial reality. But the good news, the best news of all, is that this isn't permanent. You are not condemned. It's not your final destiny. You can reprogram that frequency. You can change your energy field so that money comes to you effortlessly, without struggle, automatically, like the air you breathe every second without having to beg for it. Because this is the secret they never told you, the one the elites know and apply. Money isn't earned, it's allowed. And until you heal that internal wound that has been telling you for so long that you don't deserve wealth, no saving technique, no financial strategy, no manifestation plan will truly work, because all those are external tools. But the key is inside. The key is your energy. That is the real password. That is the door you have to open. Stop looking outside and start looking inside. Because as long as you keep believing that money is obtained only through sweat and sacrifice, you will continue playing a rigged game designed for you to always lose, to get tired, to wear yourself out. Money isn't backed by gold. It isn't backed by physical value. It's backed by one single thing: belief, pure and simple belief. A collective agreement that we have all accepted without question. Exactly like in quantum physics, where what you observe collapses possibility into reality. Here, it's the same. If you believe money is hard to get, that's what you'll have. If you believe money flows to you easily, that will be your experience. Reality has no choice. It responds to your frequency because your subconscious, which was programmed long before you learned to speak, is responsible for constantly emitting that signal. That's why you see people who work non-stop but don't prosper, and you see others who, without doing as much, seem to attract wealth naturally. It's not luck, it's not coincidence, it's energy. It has always been energy. It's not about doing more, it's about being the person who is already aligned with the frequency of abundance, because without alignment, there is no flow. Simple as that, powerful as that, real as that. Money is not something natural like rain or sun. It's a human invention. It's a collective belief we decided to accept. An illusion so well constructed that it has made us forget that we are the ones who sustain it. And that's why it has you trapped. That's why it conditions your decisions, your emotions, your fears. But it doesn't have to be this way anymore, right? Now that you clearly see the structure behind it. And if you've come this far, if you've truly felt every word of this revelation, make it clear. Write 100% in the comments. I want to see how many who start this path are capable of reaching this point without stopping, because most stay on the surface, most never awaken. But you are not most people. Helena Blavatsky knew it. True mastery lies in dominating internal energy, not in begging for external results. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop pleading, you become a natural magnet for abundance. You organize your mind, you cleanse your beliefs, and without realizing it, you begin to attract not only money but also opportunities, the right people, paths that were previously hidden. This is the point where you stop playing others' games and start creating your own. Money isn't earned, it's allowed. Allow it to flow to you. Control how you feel when you wake up. Truly, pay attention to that first sensation, that vibration with which you open your eyes each morning. Ask yourself how secure you feel in your own skin, how much you feel worthy, valuable, deserving of all the good things this world has to offer. Because that initial feeling sets the frequency you will operate on for the rest of the day. And I tell you more, since you were a child, they were hypnotizing you layer by layer, teaching you that your value as a person was tied to money, that money equaled success, survival, security, and without realizing it, you began to live in service of a system that only exists because you believe in it. Because we all believe in it. And this isn't some dark conspiracy or fantasy, it's basic spiritual law. Blavatsky taught it clearly. Money is nothing more than a belief turned into matter. Now I'll show you how deep this spell goes, because it's a spell older than you imagine. Notice, if tomorrow every person on earth woke up and simply decided that money has no value, the entire system would collapse instantly. Banks would disappear, credit would vanish, debts would be reduced to meaningless paper, because it's not the paper that sustains the system, it's the collective faith that keeps it standing. And I'm not talking theory. This has happened before. Look at Germany in the 1920s. Look at Zimbabwe in the 2000s. People burning piles of bills, not because they had lost money, but because the belief, the energetic agreement that gave them value, had collapsed. And this is what they never told you, that this belief system is not neutral, that it is manipulated, that you were programmed to see money as something difficult to get and easy to lose, to think that only a few deserve it, or that if you have a lot, you achieved it through luck or by being ruthless. Why? Because if they keep you vibrating in the frequency of scarcity, they keep you obedient, submissive, controlled, and this goes far beyond banks or governments. This is spiritual warfare. Let's go even deeper, because words carry immense power. Words create realities. Observe the word currency, moeda in Portuguese. It comes from the Latin currere, which means to run, to flow, to circulate. That was always the purpose of money, to be energy in motion, natural flow. But what happens when your internal wiring, that subconscious programming you've carried since childhood, is based on lack? What happens is you block the flow. You reject money without realizing it, no matter how smart you are, no matter how hard you work, no matter how much you desire it. If deep down your frequency is one of fear, doubt, unworthiness, everything gets blocked at some point in the process. And of course, at some point in history, money was hijacked. What was fluid and free became something rigid, frozen, captured by governments and corporations that understood this game very well and used it to build invisible chains. They transformed the energy of money into shackles, disguised control as freedom, sold you the dream of studying to succeed. But what they really gave you were decades of debt. They made you trade your time, your years, your best moments of life for a salary that barely lets you survive within the rules they imposed. That is the spell. That is the illusion. And here is the brutal truth. It was never the money that enslaved you. It was how they made you feel about money. They made you feel that it's never enough, that you always have to run faster, that you always have to do a little more, that you always have to stretch yourself to the limit just to deserve permission to live. That is the real magic trick. It wasn't the paper, It was the belief system they embedded in your nervous system that they tattooed onto your subconscious, making you constantly feel like you're behind, that you're lacking, that you can't make it, that you have to suffer to achieve. But listen closely, because this is what they fear most. If you reclaim your internal belief, you reclaim your power, because you were never born to bow down to money. You were born to use it as the tool it is. Money is not a god. It's not your master. You were born to flow with life, not to fear the flow, not to chase the scraps of a system designed to keep you small. Your real job is not just to earn more money. Your real job is to escape this trap entirely. It's to dismantle the invisible architecture within your mind. That system that tells you you're only valuable if you're suffering. And no, it's not true. You were created for abundance, designed for flow, and now is the time to return to that natural state. Because here is the secret they never taught you. Money lives in movement. It's energy that needs to circulate, that needs to flow. And it dies of fear when you cling to it out of panic, when you hoard it thinking you're protecting your future. What you're actually doing is casting a spell of lack. You're sending a signal to the universe that says loud and clear, I don't trust the flow. I don't believe more will come. And as within, so without. As above, so below. The universe reflects that exact frequency back to you. If inside you feel secure, open, abundant, money flows. If you tense up, if you accumulate stress, money vanishes. Because it's not just a number in a bank account, it's a living current, it's energy in motion. That's why it's called currency, because it was meant to run, to move. But when you spend with intention, when you give with confidence, when you invest without fear, you activate the switch, you turn on the flow, because money was never created to be locked in vaults. It was created to circulate, to move, to follow its path. And the biggest lie they told you was that you should save everything, hoard every cent, hold on to it as if it were air in your lungs. But if you do that, if you hold your breath too long, what happens? You faint, you suffocate, because money, like oxygen, needs to be inhaled and exhaled, given and received. You can't just take and hoard. It doesn't work that way. You have to move it. You can't keep it still. Wealth isn't built with what you hoard in fear, but activated by what you release with confidence. Because wealth, no matter how much they made you believe it's a thing, that it's numbers in an account or wads of bills locked away, is actually a circuit, and circuits only work when they are open, when you allow the current to circulate, when you understand that hoarding out of fear is like trying to hold your breath to save oxygen. It doesn't work that way. If you don't breathe, you die. If you don't let money flow, you suffocate it. You block it. And when you open that flow, the system responds. Not in some distant future, not as a vague promise of someday. It responds immediately, because energy doesn't understand calendars or waiting. Energy moves as soon as you move. If you've reached this point, you are among the few who truly awaken consciousness. Write 100% in the comments to know that you are part of that minority who dares to see the complete truth. Let me introduce you to someone. He doesn't exist, but he could also be real. Because if you think about it, a part of you is exactly like him. His name is Eric, a common name for a common story, but profoundly true. Eric is a self-employed plumber. He's been in the trade for 22 years. He's the man everyone calls when things break, when the ceiling caves in during the middle of the night, or when the pipes burst at 3 a.m. and no one else answers the phone. Eric always shows up. He never fails. He's not lazy, he's not foolish, he's not reckless. He arrives early, charges less than his competitors, does the job right every time. People trust him, recommend him, but still, he's broke. He's still chasing invoices like ghosts, still living paycheck to paycheck, still telling himself it's just a slow season, that things will change. But the truth is, Eric isn't just physically tired, he's energetically burned out, drained from the inside by something that goes far beyond work, burned out from carrying a spell, the same one you might be carrying without realizing it. that spell that whispers in the back of the mind that if you're not struggling, you don't deserve to win, that if you charge more, no one will hire you, that if you finally achieve success, something bad will happen to you. Eric doesn't just fix pipes, he fixes everyone's problems except his own, because deep down, he never learned to solve the biggest problem he carries, the hidden belief taught to him since childhood. The one that says being a good man means sacrificing yourself to exhaustion, that asking for more is selfish, that having real money is suspicious, that abundance is for others, but not for him. And so instead of rising up and claiming his worth, he shrinks every time he should expand. He calls it humility, but it's not. It's fear disguised as virtue. It's inherited fear like a family heirloom, passed down generation after generation by men who died broke and yet were praised for working until their last breath. Eric doesn't know that money is energy, that it's neither punishment nor reward, that it's not something earned with blisters on your hands or a broken back. Eric thinks money is a battle won by bleeding and crawling through dark basements, and that's why every time it seems he's about to get ahead, every time he feels the air getting a little lighter, something unexpected happens. An unforeseen bill, a breakdown in the van, a week with no calls, an absurd fine. But it's not coincidence, it's not bad luck. It's a pattern, a cycle in which his nervous system is programmed to survive, but not to thrive. It's wired to keep him right on the edge, not to overflow, not to experience true financial peace. Because in some deep corner of his subconscious, Eric made a decision he no longer remembers, but that still governs his life. He decided that if he has more, he will get lost, that if he stops struggling, no one will need him, that if he charges what he's really worth, he'll end up alone, that if he stops sacrificing himself, he'll lose his identity. So he keeps his rates low. He keeps saying yes when inside he wants to scream no. He keeps carrying problems that don't belong to him, and then wonders why nothing changes. But the truth is, Eric isn't broken. There's nothing wrong with him. He's just running obsolete code, a script he didn't write but continues to perform every day, a set of subconscious instructions passed down like an invisible inheritance from generations before, who also never stopped to question them. And as long as that code isn't rewritten, nothing will change. Not his income, not his clients, not the constant struggle. Because no matter how much he works, no matter how much he strives, his energy keeps screaming without him knowing it. Please don't let me prosper. I wouldn't know who I am without this suffering. And if this hits you, if something inside you stirs upon hearing this story, it's because you've lived it too. Because you too have worn the same rusty armor. Because you too have told yourself the same story over and over, the one that says if you let up, everything will fall apart, that if you allow yourself to prosper, something bad will happen. But here is your power. Listen closely, because this is crucial. The spell only works as long as it remains unconscious. But now you see it, now you feel it, now you know it. And the moment consciousness comes into play, the pattern is exposed. The story breaks, the repetition stops, and the choice presents itself clearly before you. Consciousness breaks the spell, and choice rewrites the code. Because this is the truth they never told you. You weren't born with a scarcity mindset. You inherited it, absorbed it when you were just a child and heard phrases like, "We can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Be grateful for what you have, and don't ask for more." Phrases that stuck to your skin, got into your bones, tattooed themselves onto your mind as absolute truths, but they were just others' fears. They were invisible chains disguised as common sense, and now is your time to release them. Those weren't simple, innocent phrases, not passing comments. They were camouflaged orders implanted in your subconscious without you noticing, like lines of code burned into your nervous system, like invisible scars that, although you can't see them, continue to mark every decision you make, every reaction you have towards money. Because every time you heard those words, your body didn't just hear them, it absorbed them, integrated them as absolute truths. Your body learned a single lesson, that money is difficult, that money is scarce, that desiring more is dangerous, almost a sin. And when you were barely 7 years old, your financial blueprint was already sealed, not based on the deep truth of the universe, not based on the eternal laws of energy and abundance, but cemented in the fear of others, in the lack of previous generations, based on the unresolved wounds of those who raised you, because they too carried their own codes, their own invisible limitations. And then came school, which, far from freeing your mind, reinforced every one of those beliefs. Did anyone there teach you about energy? Did anyone explain the frequency of wealth, the natural law of giving and receiving, the importance of being open to abundance? Of course not. They taught you to sit still, to memorize lifeless facts, to obey without questioning, to trade your time for money as if it were a fair deal. They trained you to fit into the rat race, not to escape it. They taught you to ask permission for every move, for every desire, for every attempt to prosper, but not to live in authentic freedom. And as if that weren't enough, the religion that often accompanied your upbringing added another layer of conditioning. They repeated over and over that the love of money is the root of all evil. They told you the poor will be blessed, that it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. They instilled it as if poverty was synonymous with purity and that serving God and money was impossible. Let's make something clear once and for all. Money is not bad. Money is not dirty. Money is completely neutral. It has no soul of its own. It has no intention. It's like fire. It amplifies what is already inside you. If there is greed in you, money will multiply it. But if there is generosity in you, money becomes a tool for positive impact, for expansion. But of course, guess who benefits from you believing that being broke is almost an act of virtue? The system, because people living in scarcity are the easiest to control, to subdue, to manipulate. And if that wasn't enough, add family trauma to the mix. Maybe you saw your parents argue over bills they couldn't pay. Maybe money came in one door and ran out the other without you knowing how. Maybe every time things started going well, something suddenly collapsed, leaving you wondering if abundance was just a mirage. Those moments didn't just hurt, didn't just mark you. They imprinted themselves like footprints on your body, programming your energy to fear money, to fear success, to prepare for chaos, as if it were inevitable, as if it were always just around the corner. So now, without realizing it, every time abundance appears at your door, you feel a little shiver. You doubt, you underestimate your own value. You sabotage yourself because deep within your energy system, the hidden belief whispers that it's better to lose it on your own terms before it's snatched away suddenly. That's why you spend poorly, why you let opportunities slip away, why you don't allow yourself to charge what you're really worth. And as if that weren't enough, social media adds fuel to the fire. You scroll through the screen and see everyone showing intermittent successes, lives that seem to move faster than yours. And instead of inspiring you, you feel small. You feel behind, as if you were less than others. But what you feel isn't motivation. It's energetic debt, and you're paying it every time you compare yourself, every time you assume you're behind, every time you silently tell yourself you won't make it. Every message, every moment, every belief you unintentionally absorbed has accumulated, layer upon layer, on the hidden plane of your mind. And whether you're aware of it or not, that plane is currently creating your financial reality. That invisible plane shapes your bank account, your income, your opportunities. But here's the powerful part, the one nobody tells you, the one the sages of ancient traditions knew centuries ago. What was programmed can be deprogrammed. Let's go deeper, because this is something most people don't understand, something not taught in schools, but which ancient mystics knew perfectly well, which Helena Blavatsky clearly hinted at, which the wisest cultures in history always recognized. And it is that your subconscious mind is not a prison you cannot escape. It's a fertile field that accepts new seeds if you decide to sow them with intention. It doesn't matter how long you've lived under the shadow of these beliefs, no matter how deep the conditioning seems to be. Every time you consciously choose a new thought, every time you align with abundance, Every time you recognize the pattern and decide to cut it, you are rewriting your internal code. You are reprogramming your energy. You are, without realizing it, rebuilding the map of your wealth. For centuries, the teachings of Kabbalah have upheld a central principle, something not taught in schools, nor mentioned in conventional finance books, but which has been there all along. Energy flows through vessels, invisible containers that we all carry within. But here's the problem, and here's where almost everyone fails. If your internal vessel is unstable, if it's too small because of all the times you doubted yourself, if it's fractured by traumas you never healed, or worse, if it was built on a foundation of fear, no matter how much divine light, how much abundance, or how much wealth tries to enter your life, that light doesn't bless you. It breaks you, it overflows you, not because you're unworthy, but because you're not prepared to hold it. And that's why you see so many people who attract money and instantly lose it. You've seen it. Maybe you've even experienced it yourself. They get the big break. They close the deal they waited years for, receive the unexpected inheritance, win the lawsuit that seemed impossible, or sell the company they built with so much effort. And yet, as quickly as it comes in, the money leaves as if it had wings. And along with it, stress, paranoia, and insecurity skyrocket. They start spending uncontrollably, performing below their capabilities, sabotaging themselves without understanding why, and before they know it, they're right back where they started, or even worse. Take lottery winners, for example. People who, overnight, receive fortunes they never imagined handling. 70% of them end up broke in less than 5 years. And we're not just talking about running out of money. Some end up emotionally broken, others worse off than when they started, loaded with debt, family betrayals, problems that didn't exist before. Now let's look at professional athletes. Men who for years trained their bodies with extreme discipline, endured sacrifices, repeated rituals of mental fortitude to withstand the pressure of high performance. But the moment they sign multi-million-dollar contracts, something inside them begins to crumble. And it's no coincidence. According to Sports Illustrated, 78% of NFL players fall into bankruptcy or severe financial stress within 2 years of retirement, and 60% of NBA players are completely broke 5 years after leaving the league. And we're talking about men who had everything: money, fame, global attention, access to unlimited opportunities. So, what happened? Why do they plummet after reaching the top? The answer is brutally simple. No one taught them how to reprogram their subconscious identity regarding wealth. No one showed them that if you don't deeply believe it's safe to have money, if you don't restructure your energy field to hold it, you will expel it. Even if you're rich on paper, even if the whole world believes you've made it, inside, your energy will be saying something else. And that's why this isn't just about getting money. It's not enough to attract it. It's also about preparing your energy field to hold it, protect it, and expand with it. Because if money is energy, your energy field is the container. And if that field is cracked, if it's fragile, if it's saturated with old fears and broken beliefs, the energy of money will do what energy always does. It will find the crack, escape, short-circuit your system. And it's not because the universe wants to punish you, not because you don't deserve it. It's because energy follows its own laws, always, inevitably. It's not enough to attract wealth. You need to be able to retain it without crumbling inside. Here's the truth. Almost nobody says out loud. Most people's energy fields are weak, not because they are less capable, not because they don't deserve it, but because they were never taught how to protect their frequency, how to shield their inner field. So when money arrives, their field cracks, their nervous system collapses, and even though they have more than enough, they feel like they are spiraling because their energetic vessel wasn't built to contain so much abundance. In Kabbalistic terms, this is called the breaking of the vessels, Shevirat HaKalim. It's not punishment, it's pure feedback. The light doesn't betray you. The light only exposes what was already broken inside you. It doesn't destroy you, it simply illuminates your cracks. Because listen well, money doesn't fix who you are. Money reveals who you are and then amplifies it. If you carry guilt, shame, fear, or money-related trauma inside, that's exactly what will become stronger when wealth arrives. If you feel insecure receiving abundance, you will unconsciously reject it when it appears. If you don't believe you are enough, your mind will find a way to push wealth away from you so that your reality aligns with your subconscious self-image, because that's how powerful the programming within you is. So let's set the ego aside for a moment. Put aside that part of you that says this isn't about you. Because yes, you have worked hard, you have endured more than many can imagine. You have silenced your pain while everyone assumed you were fine. You have kept your head held high while inside you wondered how you would carry on. You've come this far dragging stories that weren't yours, but that they made you believe were. But let me ask you a direct question. Has anyone ever taught you how to build your energy field to hold the wealth you desire? Not to earn it, but to retain it, to expand it, to not collapse under its weight? Because here lies the key that separates those who thrive from those who crumble. Here is the silent difference the system never wanted you to know. Honestly, stop for a moment. Forget the bank account. Forget the numbers on the screen. Forget the papers with figures that rise and fall and condition your mood day after day. Put all that aside for an instant and truly ask yourself, when was the last time you felt genuinely rich? I don't mean having money in your pocket. I'm not talking about transactions or salaries. I'm talking about feeling abundant inside, full, powerful in your body, in your spirit, in your soul, feeling that you lack nothing, that you are enough, that you don't need to run or fear or seek validation outside because you have it within. When was the last time you truly felt that? Without having to lie to yourself, without having to convince yourself of something that doesn't hold up. If you are honest with yourself, you'll realize it's been a long time, perhaps years. Perhaps you don't even remember because you've spent too long bleeding energy, not just through endless bills or suffocating responsibilities, but through the constant suppression of what you feel, through the silence you've imposed on your own pain, through the loneliness you carry like an invisible weight, through the shame you don't even dare to name because no one taught you to receive. They only trained you to give until you collapsed. So now you sit here with a tired face, with a body begging for rest even though you force it to continue, with a cluttered mind that won't stop racing, jumping from worry to worry like a frightened animal, with a growing resentment that whispers even though you try to silence it. What the hell is all this? Why do I keep fighting if nothing changes? But you don't say it out loud. You don't dare because they taught you that complaining was weakness, that expressing the weight you carry makes you less of a man, less worthy, less strong. But it's there. You know it. You feel it. And here I'll tell you the brutal truth. You're not just financially blocked. It's not just money that's missing. You're energetically blocked. You carry on your shoulders not only your burdens, but the burdens of generations of men who were never free, men who worked themselves to death while hiding their pain behind a silent nod and an empty half smile. You think it's about money, but it's not. It never has been. It's about what money represents. It's about power, security, inner peace, choice, the ability to say no without feeling guilty, real freedom, being able to breathe deeply without feeling the weight of the world crushing you. And until you heal those parts of yourself that feel unworthy of that freedom, you will continue chasing scraps. You will continue calling survival what is actually just a decorated form of slavery. But it's not too late. It's not. However, you can't keep pretending you don't see it. Because if you do, if you choose to ignore it, you keep working for less than your worth. You keep waking up every morning with that tight anxiety in your chest. You keep distracting yourself with YouTube or social media, scrolling silently so you don't hear the voice screaming inside you, and in the end, inevitably, you break. You end up alone, bitter, invisible, just like your father did, just like your grandfather did, just like every man who thought money alone would save him. Without understanding, he had to save himself first. That is the real reason you are watching this right now. That is the part of you that can no longer stand one more superficial solution. that no longer wants a temporary patch or an empty strategy, because you know in your core that superficial fixes don't work, that you need something deeper, that you need a new frequency, that you need to rebuild yourself from the inside out. No matter how many times you failed, no matter how many times you felt you couldn't go on, what matters is that now, in this instant, you say enough. That you decide you're done pretending, done fighting in silence, that you're ready to change everything. Because this isn't about empty theories, not about soulless motivational phrases. It's about reprogramming your energy field until you become a man who possesses wealth naturally, easily, peacefully. But before wealth can trust you, you have to learn to trust yourself. Before money wants to stay in your life, you have to seal your energy field. You have to become a solid, strong, clean container, without cracks where abundance can escape without you noticing. So this is how it begins. It begins when you open your eyes each morning and decide that this first moment won't be for falling into the trap of external noise, the phone, the news, the worries. No, it begins when you wake up and without distractions, without noise, in complete silence, you say aloud to yourself, even if it feels strange at first, I command the recovery of my energy. I close all circuits that are losing energy. I am safe to receive. I am prepared to hold more. Because words are commands to your energy field. Because your voice has power, and every time you say it, even if you don't see it, your energy reorganizes, your inner vessel strengthens, your circuits repair, and what used to escape now begins to stay. And when money arrives, when opportunities appear, you no longer break, you no longer panic, you no longer sabotage yourself, because you have finally become the man who not only attracts abundance, but holds it with calm, with dignity, with certainty. If you've reached this point, you are among the few who truly awaken consciousness. Write 100% in the comments to know that you are part of that minority who dares to see the complete truth. Breathe slowly, not superficially. Not with that nervous haste of someone who feels time slipping through their fingers. Breathe deeply, like a man who isn't afraid to be still within the movement, who isn't afraid to stop for a second and observe the strength flowing within him. Because breathing like this is moving with courage. It's occupying your space without asking permission. Don't just work like someone trying to earn a place in life. Operate as if your time were sacred, as if every second you live were a divine resource that cannot be wasted, because that's exactly what it is, valuable beyond what you were ever told. So raise your prices without your voice trembling. Say no to people who drain your energy as if your peace were an inexhaustible source. Show yourself to the world as someone who already understands that their energy is currency, that their vibration is their true capital. Because 3 things sustain you: how you speak, how you think, and how you act. Stop telling yourself phrases like, I'm not a rich man, I can't afford it, it's just not in the cards for me, I guess I'll figure it out. And start speaking like a man who is already aligned with abundance. Start declaring, wealth is finding me right now. Start saying, every dollar I spend returns multiplied. My value increases day by day. I am completely open and safe to receive more than I ever have before. Even if it seems like a lie at first, even if you feel the words don't match the reality you see before you, say it anyway. Because here's the key. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a lie and an order. Your subconscious doesn't judge, it just obeys. And every time you speak, every time you repeat these affirmations, you are reprogramming the lines of code that determine your external reality. Next, clean your space as if you were preparing your home to receive royalty. Because believe it or not, your environment reflects the state of your subconscious. If your room is chaotic, your mind is losing energy. If your desk is cluttered, your energy field is leaking. If your house feels dull, your vibration is dropping without you realizing it. So clean it, organize it, burn something sacred. Incense, a candle, Palo Santo, whatever resonates with you. Literally make space for abundance to enter. Turn this act into a ritual that anchors your intention in matter. And then comes the 5th key, perhaps the most powerful of all. Subconscious wealth implantation every night before sleep, without distractions, without screens stealing your attention. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and repeat firmly in your mind, I did enough today. I trust the process. I release control and receive while I rest. Visualize yourself not as a man who needs money, but as a man who is already aligned with it. Don't imagine yourself surrounded by flashy luxuries if that doesn't resonate with you. Just imagine freedom, peace, waking up each morning without weight in your chest, breathing deeply, doing the work you love, without the anguish of needing money. Because in this state, you don't need to chase abundance. Abundance chases you. This process isn't about becoming a new man you've never been. It's about returning to the man you already were before the world beat you down until you doubted yourself, before they taught you to shrink for fear of standing out, before they educated you to hide your true power, before they ingrained in you the lie that constant struggle is your purpose. This is your ritual of return to power, to peace, to wealth. And if no one told you before, let me be the first to say, you are allowed to rise. You are allowed to claim your abundance. And this time you don't have to do it alone. And there's an uncomfortable truth that most will never feel, not because they don't have money, but because they never learned to see wealth, because they defined wealth in such a limited, small, superficial way that even though life tried to bless them every day, they didn't know how to recognize it. They thought wealth was only numbers on a bank screen, bills in a wallet, digital balances on an app, and didn't understand that this is the lowest vibration of abundance, merely the final expression after passing through the higher dimensions where true wealth lives. Because wealth is encoded in much subtler forms, in gestures that slip by if you don't pay attention. Wealth is when a stranger helps you without asking for anything in return, when something that seemed about to fall apart is suddenly saved by a hair's breadth, when a medical checkup comes back clear even though you feared the worst, when a client who would have drained your soul unexpectedly cancels, when a casual conversation with someone you just met completely realigns your perspective on life, when a delay saves you from an invisible disaster you never knew about. And if you aren't capable of seeing these things as the true forms of currency they are, you are rejecting the flow of abundance without realizing it. This is the spiritual trap that catches almost everyone. If you only recognize bills or digital numbers as wealth, you are spiritually poor, even when life is trying to bless you every day. Because the source doesn't pay only in cash. It pays in time, pays in energy, pays in protection, in redirection, in peace, in health, in the right people arriving at the right time. But most are so programmed to see only money that when disguised miracles appear before their eyes, they ignore them, dismiss them, or worse, complain that the money hasn't arrived yet. Imagine this. The universe is protecting you from a catastrophe you never got to see. It's saving you from a betrayal. It's healing you from within, but because you didn't see a direct deposit hit your bank account that morning, you feel broke, poor, helpless, without realizing you were already being blessed in ways you cannot yet comprehend. This is, undisguised, the poverty mindset in its most toxic form. Total blindness to invisible wealth. The inability to see the blessings already present because you're so focused on seeking money that you don't recognize the silent abundance surrounding you, and that's why you must adjust your lens. You have to sharpen your inner vision, train your perception to see the higher forms of wealth, because here is the metaphysical law that has always governed this game, even if no one told you in these words. What you acknowledge expands. What you ignore contracts. Simple as that, and potent as that. Because if you start seeing every blessing, every unexpected redirection, every moment of grace as a form of energetic income, what you'll be doing is expanding your receiving field at a speed no physical effort could match, because you'll finally be sending the universe a clear signal, without hesitation, saying, I am awake, I am paying attention, I am ready to hold wealth in all its forms, not just in bills, not just in bank figures, but in living energy, in opportunities, in protection, in peace. The deep understanding of this changes everything, because once you can see that money is merely a side effect of the correct flow of energy and not the goal itself, the universe responds. Because the miracle doesn't cost more than a coin. The miracle doesn't require your obsession with accumulating bills or adding zeros to your bank account. The miracle only cares about one thing: that your field is open, that your perception has shifted from lack to abundance. And your field opens precisely when your perception changes, when you stop being blind and start seeing gold where before you only saw dust. So here is the work. Here is the practice that connects you to real abundance. Start tracking the non-monetary abundance that showed up in your day. Pay attention almost like a treasure hunter. Look for events that saved you time, situations that saved you energy or stress, who offered help without you asking. What advice or sign came to you unexpectedly? What thing you feared would go wrong simply didn't happen? Note these things down, acknowledge them, value them, because these are not trivialities, not small things. These are codes of energetic currency. These are the first sprouts of wealth manifesting, and the more you see them, the more you appreciate them, the more your subconscious accepts them as its new normal. Here's the truth. No one told you clearly. Money doesn't respond only to physical or mental effort. It responds much more powerfully to the energetic, emotional, and ritualistic signals you constantly emit. Your bank account isn't just a reflection of your hours worked. It's a direct reflection of your frequency. If your frequency screams, "I'm stuck," then even when money comes into your life, it won't stay. It will slip through your fingers like water. That's why it's not enough just to change your mindset. You need rituals. You need physical anchors that send an unmistakable message to your energy field saying, "I am no longer operating from fear. Now I move from overflow." And here, I bring you 3 simple yet profoundly powerful physical acts that speak the language of your subconscious and the universe simultaneously. And that act quickly when done with pure intention. The first is the spell of circulation. Always remember this. Money that doesn't move becomes dead weight, stagnates energy. And when you accumulate out of fear, when you hoard every coin with the anxiety of losing it, you're cutting off the flow you want to expand. But this ritual reactivates the current immediately, and it's simple. It consists of giving, but not just any way. Do it anonymously, not out of obligation or for recognition, but as a declaration of pure trust. It doesn't have to be a large sum. It can be something as simple as $5, $10, whatever you can manage. But do it with clear intention. Leave it in the tip jar. Buy coffee for the person behind you. Leave some change on a stranger's bill. Pay someone's transport fare. And as you do it, affirm strongly in your mind, "This proves I trust the flow, that I allow it to move because I know with certainty that it always returns multiplied." This isn't about charity, it's about energetic circulation. You're communicating to the field that you're not afraid, that you are in charge. And once the current opens again, it flows back with more force. The second is the ritual of reception. Most people, when they spend money, feel guilt, feel a pang of fear, wonder if they're running out of resources, and with each purchase, send the signal that it's not safe to spend, that they fear not seeing the return. And that signal chokes the flow before it can expand. But this ritual reprograms that frequency at the very moment of the transaction. Keep a receipt from a purchase you made, not out of urgent necessity, but out of joy, pleasure, expansion. Maybe a nice dinner, a gift for someone you love, a book that nourishes your mind. And on the back of the receipt, write with conviction, "Money returns to me multiplied by 10 with ease." Then fold it and keep it in your wallet or purse. And every time you see it, every time you touch it, even if you only perceive its presence, let it remind your subconscious of this vital message. I am the source, not the system. Money flows through me, not to me. This is a completely new identity, and the field always responds to the identity you choose to hold. And the third is the overflow envelope. Most people only use money in 2 ways, spending it with guilt or saving it with fear. But this ritual opens a third, infinitely more powerful path. the vibration of pure overflow. Every time you receive money, no matter how small, take a small portion and place it in an envelope you keep with special intention. This is not an envelope for expenses or savings. This is the overflow envelope. The envelope that tells your energy field, I always have more than enough. I am beyond survival. I am entering unlimited abundance. Take 5% to 10% of any income that comes into your hands. It doesn't matter if it's large or small. Doesn't matter if it comes from your usual work or an unexpected opportunity. Take it and place it in a special place, in an envelope labeled overflow. And listen closely. Do not touch it. Do not use it as an emergency fund. Do not look at it as a just in case. Do not turn it into a crutch. Just leave it there. Let it grow. Let it accumulate. Because this isn't about the money itself. It's about what you are telling your energy field every time you let that envelope fill without the urgency to empty it. What you're doing is giving your subconscious physical proof, evidence it cannot ignore, a forceful demonstration that says, this is not my last dollar. I am not barely surviving. I am overflowing. I have more than enough. It's not greed, not hoarding from fear. It's a silent but powerful declaration of conscious creation. It's building a tangible physical reminder that you operate from abundance now, not in some distant future, not when you have more clients, not when that contract arrives, but already, today, now. And the beauty of this simple act is that the more you see that envelope grow, the deeper your internal alignment with that truth becomes. Because it's not just money accumulating in there, it's the resonance of your new energetic identity. It's the encoded frequency that says, I am abundance, I am flow, I am overflow. And since the law of energy is clear and exact, the stronger that resonance, the more money will begin to flow to you. Not because you're working harder, not because you're making a titanic effort, but because frequency always calls to its reflection, because the vibration you hold becomes a magnet. Understand this, these are not just financial habits. These are vibrational rituals. They are practices that reprogram your nervous system and launch a new signal to the universe. Because it's not enough just to think about wealth, not enough just to want it from the conscious mind. You have to act aligned. You have to turn that intention into physical form, into movement, into coherent action, because ritual is the bridge that unites thought with reality. So start today. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until you have enough. Start now. Start with what you have. Send the clear signal right now and watch with your own eyes how quickly the system responds once you do. Because the examples are there, it's just that few pay attention to the deep truth behind them. Look at Jim Carrey, a man who understood this principle without needing someone to explain it to him. He wrote himself a check for $10 million when he was an unknown actor, without fame, connections, or financial backing. He dated that check 5 years into the future, and every day for years he visualized cashing it, sometimes sitting in his parked car on Mulholland Drive, looking at the horizon and feeling that money was already his, not wishing for it to arrive, but living it as an absolute present. And here's the wild part. 5 years later, almost exactly, he was offered a movie contract that paid him precisely those $10 million. Coincidence? Not even close. That's what happens when your internal model becomes so solid, so unbreakable, that reality has no choice but to catch up. And if you think this is new, if you think it's a recent trend of gurus and catchy phrases, let me tell you, it's not. Decades before manifestation became trendy, before social media was plagued with scripts and abundance crystals, there was a man who deciphered this code and taught it with a clarity that still makes those who prefer to cling to excuses uncomfortable today. His name was Neville Goddard, and his message was as radical in his time as it remains now. Neville wasn't a preacher, not an entrepreneur selling courses. He wasn't offering packaged solutions to get rich in 3 days. He wasn't after your money. He was a man who had seen the truth and dedicated his life to showing it to others. Neville taught something that scares many to accept. Your imagination is God. Your inner assumptions create your outer reality. You are not the victim of the world, you are the cause. And he didn't say it from the superficial positive thinking so often repeated without depth. It wasn't just repeating empty phrases hoping for miracles. He taught that consciousness is the only reality, and that everything you experience in your life is simply the external projection of your innermost beliefs. He said this over and over until it was ingrained in the minds of those ready to hear it. The world is yourself pushed out, meaning your relationships, your bank account, your success or lack thereof, your good luck or your challenges are not reflections of your external actions, not the direct result of your physical effort, but of your deepest subconscious beliefs. This is what separated Neville from the others, because while most people focus on what they want, Neville taught you to focus on what you assume, because what you want often remains a fantasy wish, but what you assume, what you live internally, what you feel and embody daily, that is what gets imprinted on your subconscious, and that is what will inevitably manifest in your life. Understand this well. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. You can visualize piles of cash every day. You can fill your wall with vision boards full of luxury cars and dream homes. But if deep down you still assume you are broke, that money is not easy to get, that abundance is for others and not for you, then no amount of affirmations or wish lists will save you, because your energy field always responds to your internal state, not your external hopes. And here Neville was crystal clear. Feeling is the secret. This isn't just the title of one of his most powerful books. It's the key that unlocks this entire process. It's not thinking, not repeating like a parrot, not affirming mechanically without soul. It's feeling. Because your subconscious doesn't respond to empty words. It responds to the feeling those words awaken within you. The mind doesn't speak in human words. It doesn't recognize English or Spanish, or the languages we've invented to communicate with each other. The mind speaks in vibration, in energy, in pure emotion that vibrates beyond the phrases you utter. It speaks in the identity you hold. The mind doesn't listen to your empty prayers. It listens to the frequency you constantly emit. And when you feel something as absolutely true, not only your mind but your entire energy field picks it up and your body responds. Your muscles relax, your chest expands, your nervous system quiets. That's when the field around you starts tuning into that new frequency. Blavatsky taught, with a clarity many today have forgotten, that thought is not merely an internal process. It is a force that propagates in the invisible currents of the universal ether, shaping the subtle substance of reality. When you hold a vibration, an emotion, it is not an internal whim. It is an order imprinted on the invisible planes, the very planes that eventually densify into the matter you can touch. Therefore, when you desire more abundance, more material expansion, it is not mechanical action that opens the flow, though action has its place, but the sustained vibration that begins to mold the universal current in your favor. Blavatsky would never say to saturate yourself with planning or lose yourself in the anxiety of accumulation. She would invite you to elevate your consciousness to the point where visualization is not a distant desire, but an affirmation of existence. It's not visualizing as one observes something distant, but contemplating with the certainty that it already is. Not, someday it will come, but I already dwell in it. Imagine checking your bank account and feeling the absolute calm of knowing abundance is natural for you. Imagine moving through the world with the inner tranquility of one who knows they are supported by universal currents. Feel that expansion, not as a longing, but as a fulfilled fact. Breathe into it. Allow that vibration to settle within you, because as Blavatsky taught, the energies of the astral plane imprint themselves onto the physical plane through the force of conscious and sustained thought. Before sleep, when the connection to the subtle planes intensifies, repeat in your mind not the events as they occurred, but as you wish they had occurred. If you faced rejection, imagine acceptance. If doors closed, imagine they opened. Blavatsky explained that thought molds the astral forms that precede all material manifestation. The universal ether responds to the image you offer it. And if you hold it with sufficient emotional conviction, matter will have no choice but to obey. And if doubt appears, as it always does, that voice saying, "This isn't real, this isn't possible," understand that it is the old resistance of your previous vibrational field. Blavatsky spoke of the collective thought currents that contaminate the individual's mind, keeping them chained to the illusion of scarcity and failure. But you can overcome that current because the human, she taught, is a creative being, a conscious channel of universal power. When you persist in holding the new energetic image, even without seeing immediate proof, when you insist on vibrating from certainty while the old reality tries to whisper doubts, that is when your field breaks the chains of the old structure. Because here is the great law: the universal field does not respond to your impatience, it responds to your vibrational constancy. Most people fall just before the opening. They maintain the new frequency for a few days, perhaps a week, and then look to the external world seeking premature signs. They don't see them and give up. And by giving up, they reinforce the old vibration, sealing their stagnant reality once more. Blavatsky taught that patience is not passivity, it is active power. Patience is the dominion of sustained will over the subtle matter that is still taking shape. And this is where the doors open, when you stop seeking premature signs and become the sign. When you yourself become the living evidence that energy is moving, even though the world hasn't fully reflected it yet. When you no longer depend on seeing to believe, but believe so deeply that you inevitably see. Students of theosophical teachings who understood this principle saw their lives transformed in ways that defied common logic. Men and women who held the image of abundance, not as a desire, but as an inner truth, began to see opportunities arrive through unexpected paths, not because they searched desperately, but because the vibration of certainty silently restructures the invisible threads that weave matter. You are not a victim of an external destiny. Blavatsky was radical on this point. The human being is a co-creator with the universal force. Not a lost pawn in a game they don't understand. It is not the economy that dictates your abundance, not your boss, not capricious chance. It is your vibrational field sustaining or collapsing the reality you experience. There is no out there. Everything comes from the inner projection. And yes, this idea is uncomfortable because it rips out all excuses by the root, because we like to believe there are external culprits, that the environment limits us, that circumstances crush us. But Blavatsky didn't soften the truth. You are the cause. What you hold within is what blossoms without. You have woven this reality, and most importantly, you can weave another. Starting today, starting now, starting this very moment, you decide that your energy field will no longer replicate the old vibrations of fear or lack, but will hold the unbreakable vibration of the natural abundance that always belonged to you. So why aren't you using it yet? That's the question you have to ask yourself head on, with brutal honesty, without embellishments, without excuses. Why do you keep visualizing from lack? Why do you keep following scripts like school assignments you have to check off to see if something happens, waiting for external signals to tell you that now is the time? The truth, however painful, is that the power has never been outside of you. It's in your hands. It has always been there, beating silently beneath all your doubts, waiting for you to claim it once and for all. You don't need more proof. You don't need more how-tos. The teaching has already been given to you long ago. Assume it is done. Feel it as real. Live it as present. Persist in that frequency until the external world has no choice but to bend and adjust to the vibration you hold internally. It's not a trick, not a cheap illusion, not storefront positive thinking. It's a law that has been operating in your life since the first breath you took. Only until now you've used it unconsciously. You've created your world without knowing it, holding thoughts and emotions that molded your reality, brick by brick. The good news is you don't have to remain a sleeping architect. Now is the time to build your life deliberately, awake, consciously, using the tool you always had but never learned to wield. Few have heard this name, yet his work was the root of almost all modern understanding of conscious reality creation. Ernest Holmes. Perhaps he sounds new to you, but if you've ever heard phrases like "change your thoughts and change your life," or "your mind is a magnet," or "the universe responds to your belief," then you've already been touched by Holmes's influence, even if you didn't know it. Before the word manifestation was a hashtag on social media, before the law of attraction went viral, Holmes had already laid out the map. Born in 1887, Holmes wasn't a preacher seeking souls, not a seller of instant salvation. He was a profound philosopher, a spiritual teacher who wasn't satisfied with empty theories. His danger to those who wanted to keep humanity chained was simple. He taught that you don't need intermediaries to access divine intelligence, that you don't have to suffer to deserve abundance, that you don't need to wait for entry into heaven when you can open the gates here and now. Holmes made it clear. Your mind is the direct access to the infinite source of creation, and he explained it without embellishment. There is a power in the universe greater than you. Yes, but you can use it. You can align with it. Call it what you will: universal mind, quantum field, divine intelligence, God itself. The name doesn't matter. What matters is the connection. Because here is the unbreakable rule. Whatever you impress upon this mind through your beliefs, your repeated emotions, your sustained thoughts, is reflected back in form, not because the universe has favorites, but because that's how the law works. If your deep belief is scarcity, you will receive more lack. If your belief is overflow, the doors will open. It's not personal, not judgment, it's law. Holmes called it the law of mind in action. Think about it. If you feel like you keep hitting a financial wall, if you try new strategies, work harder, make budgets, and still feel like you're going in circles without advancing, Holmes would tell you with crystal clarity: stop trying to fix the outside, stop fighting the effects, change the cause, change your inside. Because the outside is nothing more than an echo, a pale reflection of what already vibrates within you. You're not without money because the economy betrayed you. You're not financially blocked because you lack talent or hard work. You are there because your mental blueprint keeps silently screaming that money is hard to get. That belief is your true signal, your energetic transmission, and it's the signal the infinite intelligence responds to. Because wealth isn't something pursued, not a distant goal. It's a frequency you emit. It's not about chasing after it. It's about becoming the person who attracts it naturally, like a magnet that needs no effort to capture what it's designed to attract. We don't create things. We create the internal conditions that allow things to appear. You don't make money. You tune into the version of yourself already surrounded by the flow of money. That version of you already exists, not in some distant future, not in a hypothetical life, but here and now, in a parallel dimension of your own being. That version of you already moves in peace, already charges what they deserve, already lives from the absolute certainty that receiving is natural. But as long as you keep vibrating from anxiety, fear, shame, or survival, your energy field cannot align with that frequency. So your job isn't to chase opportunities, it's to elevate your internal state until it matches the version of you already living in abundance. And it's not about faking it. It's not about forcing a false smile or repeating empty affirmations hoping for automatic miracles. It's about consciously installing new beliefs from the root. Holmes had a practice he called creating the mental equivalent. It was simple but powerful. Identify what you desire and ask yourself, who do I need to become in terms of thought and vibration to receive this? It's not just about wanting more money. It's about becoming the person who lives, breathes, and vibrates like someone who is already a natural channel for wealth. That means stopping thinking like a victim. It means letting go of the old narrative of constant struggle. Stopping apologizing for your power, abandoning the habit of rehearsing scarcity in your internal and external conversations. Start rehearsing peace, practicing tranquility, responding like someone who already possesses what they desire. Not because you're acting as if it were true, but because from your deepest core, you recognize that it already is. This isn't a game of making things happen, it's the art of allowing what already exists to manifest in your reality because your internal field has been calibrated to receive it. When you do this, when you stop fighting the current and instead become the channel through which the current flows naturally, life has no choice but to respond. The internal state you hold is reflected ever more clearly in the world around you. It's an inevitable law, as precise as the gravity that holds the oceans in place. The longer you live in a state of certainty, of assumed abundance, of elevated vibration, the faster you will see that energy begin to manifest in every corner of your external existence. Always remember, the universe, or if you prefer to call it God, is not withholding anything from you. There is no divine punishment reserved for you. There is no ceiling imposed on you by higher forces. Abundance is not limited from above. The flow is not cut off from outside. As Holmes taught, the spirit, the universal mind, the source of all life, is always giving, always, incessantly. It does not stop. It is we, only we, who do not know how to receive, not because we are unworthy, but because no one taught us how. There is no such thing as lack in the universe. What does exist, and sadly abounds, is a lack of belief, self-imposed limitation, inherited ideas that one must fight for every penny, that only the lucky get to prosper, that wealth is a prize reserved for a chosen few. All that is nothing more than patterns, ideas installed in the architecture of your subconscious that you never questioned, but which you can deactivate now. When you deeply understand that your subconscious mind is the true creative engine of your life, you stop blaming, stop waiting for external miracles. You finally begin to take complete spiritual responsibility. You understand that wealth is not a prize given for good behavior, but a natural result of internal alignment with universal law. Holmes was very clear on this. We are not punished for our mistakes, but by them. It's not that the universe punishes you for having thoughts of lack or for feeling fear about money. Simply, if you continue thinking, feeling, and vibrating as if you were broke, you will continue recreating that same experience over and over again, not because you are being condemned, but because you are being faithful to the signal you yourself are sending. The same applies to money. You are not rewarded for praying more often or for working infinite hours to exhaustion. You are rewarded, if you want to call it that, for aligning internally and energetically with the law. Your frequency is the key. Your sustained emotion is the code. Your repeated thoughts are the silent order that creation obeys. And now you have to make a decision. Will you continue living within the mental patterns you inherited from generations who also lived in lack? Or will you become here and now the conscious cause of your new reality? Because this is what Holmes knew with absolute certainty. The power is already within you. You have never lacked it. You are not broken. You are not defective, not incomplete. You simply haven't been taught how to use your power. Once you understand this, life stops feeling like a constant battle, stops feeling like an uphill struggle. It becomes a perfect mirror, a fertile field that reflects without judgment the seed you plant each day with your vibration. Understand this. Holmes wasn't just a writer, he was a spiritual engineer, a cartographer of the human soul who precisely mapped the laws of reality so that anyone at any time could understand and apply them. He taught that you and the creative mind of the universe are one. You are not separate from it. You are constantly creating at every moment, whether consciously or unconsciously. And your thoughts today are the architectural blueprints of your future. You don't have to plead for money. You don't have to prove you are worthy of abundance. You don't have to beg the universe like a spiritual beggar. You only need to be available to receive the reality you claim to want. And that begins with a simple but powerful act, believing, not in luck, not in an external system, but in your internal power to mold reality through sustained thought, word, and vibration. You came to this world to break the cycle, not just for yourself, but for all who will come after you. The system you grew up in did everything possible to make you forget who you were. But today you are remembering, you are awakening, you are reclaiming your creative nature. Money is not separate from you. It never was. It is a material expression of your internal flow of energy. It's not about greed. It's about alignment. It's about freedom. It's about truth. And if you truly want to experience the power of this alignment, here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, live as if you already have it. Don't wait. Don't doubt. Don't postpone yourself. Live within certainty. Walk with the confidence of one who knows that wealth is already a reality, not a distant desire. Do it not as an experiment with anxious expectations, but as a declaration of power. Do it as one who knows the universe can do nothing but respond to the vibration you hold firmly. This is your moment. This is the beginning of rewriting your energy field. Don't postpone it. Don't wait any longer for reality to give you permission. Your permission is your decision, and your decision today is to remember the eternal truth.